And welcome back to the Red Bull LAN Orlando. I am Day 9, joined not by DJ Wheat, but by Rob Simpson from Blizzard Esports. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing wonderful. It's awesome to be here. The environment has been incredible. I'm so stoked to be at this Red Bull LAN here at Full Sail.
Now, I have to ask, you've had the chance to, be up on the stage and watch some of the players as they've been training. Yes. What are some of the cool things that you've been seeing while watching them?
I think that one of the coolest things is that right now this is very much becoming like a critical advice kind of environment where it's okay for these players to criticize each other's play all the way down to the most minute details. They're very open to that, and seeing them grow literally right before your eyes has been awesome.
It's always a really funny thing where if you watch someone's replay, you can maybe see some of the mid and high level mistakes, like, oops, forgot this upgrade there, maybe move this army there. But a lot of times when you sit behind someone, you can see, wow, when you get in a battle, you never look away back at your base. And suddenly it's not just saying what should happen in the game, but how they should behave just with their control setup.
Right, and even seeing things that they do with their keyboard, like they might just be in bad habits with places that they put their fingers anyway. So all the things that you're able to see live are just so cool.
So the players up on stage have been training, doing their usual practice sparring for upcoming tournaments. And just as we saw Liquid Chef go up against that Zerg vs. Protoss style in his challenge, in ThorZaIN's challenge, it's all about Terran vs. Zerg mid-game. ThorZaIN's challenge is that he is a slow, methodical player. He rarely drops. He rarely ever does lightning attacks. And he is going to be experimenting with dropping and scanning to try to identify the times when he can just rush right up to the Zerg.
Right, which is totally valuable for ThorZaIN. He's a really strong macro player. We always see him, as you say, play very slow, play very methodical. He likes doing those slow mech pushes, and seeing him mix up his play is going to be so good for his growth.
Yeah, and that's kind of a funny thing that ThorZaIN talked about when we were interviewing him. He was saying that the main reason that he plays so slow and so methodical is not because he believes in playing solid or planning or that he has uncanny patience. He said it's fear, it's anxiety. He says he gets to the middle of the map and he's worried a counterattack's going to happen. He's worried his tanks will be on siege and banelings will come from all sides. He's worried that if he drops, he'll lose it to Mutalisks, and it will have been a complete waste.
Yeah, well, what better place to break that fear than here at the Red Bull LAN, Sean?
Well, it's true. I mean, not only is he literally saying, I'm forcing myself to do it, but he's doing it in front of a huge crowd of people. Hello, crowd of people.
Yes.
He's doing it in front of, right now we have over 20,000 people watching live. There is some pressure being put on him to actually follow through with this, because it's so easy to be in a practice game at home and say, oh, I'm going to be dropping, and then you don't really end up doing it.
Right, because you can just end up falling into what's comfortable for you, whereas this, we're literally going to make him do what he said he has to do.
And most importantly of all, it's a practice environment. There's no prize at the end that he can win or lose. There's no tournament that he's going to be knocked out of. He is just trying to challenge himself to be up against that mid-game, that layer tech, and to try to hold on as long as possible. Now, one thing I do want to note is that his opponents have been instructed, don't go too fast to Broodlords. Also, don't just go mass infester and play defensive. Go for the standard Mutaling Baneling style.
Right, which is interesting for their opponents as well, because their opponents are being forced into playing within a box too, right? So this isn't just a learning experience for ThorZaIN. Like for the focus players, everybody's getting something out of it.
I mean, a lot of times it can even reveal weaknesses. I know that this is what my opponent is trying to do, these fast lightning pushes. So I'm going to try to respond by realizing that and fixing that in my own play. Wow, I didn't think ThorZaIN could attack right now, and he did. And one of the cool techniques that ThorZaIN's going to be trying to do in these games is to identify where the Mutalisks are on the map, and then to drop at an opposite location. Because if his Mutalisks are over here, and there's a drop ship over here, the Zerg has to defend with his Zerglings. So what does that mean? The Zergling-Baneling surround is much less likely in the middle of the map.
Right, and two birds with one stone, right? Because you're controlling their army. As long as it's away from their base, that's wasted time anyway. So if you're pulling them to force back, you get guaranteed damage, and they wasted time.
Now, we are going to get the chance to hop into an interview with ThorZaIN, but before we do, we got the chance to sit down with ThorZaIN long before the LAN started and find out a little bit about him. So let's find out about our wonderful Terran Swede, ThorZaIN.
Back, I now sit on the couch with mouz Sports ThorZaIN. ThorZaIN, I'm excited to see you now go through your focus player training. And let's talk a little bit about your challenge. Can you tell us exactly what it is?
Yeah, so basically the challenge is I have been struggling TVC knowing when to push and kind of how to push. Like there's many different ways you can do it, and the way you control your units. and there's like all these different timings when to push, and I don't have a big, I don't know very much about them.
One of the things I also saw was wanting to maybe improve your read and or preparing for drops. What was it for the scans and the drops? Can you explain that a little bit?
It was just like many Korean turns when they play against Zerg, they like to do a drop or two even simultaneously as they're moving out, because they can they get to know where the Zerg army is, and such they don't have to worry about the big counter and stuff like that. And so yeah, that's the approach I'm gonna be using now.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about, you know, the motivation. Is there like a specific set or player, or has this been a series of games that has sort of brought you to this conclusion that this is just something I need to work on, or is this something that's lingered with you for quite some time?
It's just that I feel pretty clueless when it comes to the time where I move out TVC. I have good builds and managed to get a good army, but I don't know what to do with the army, and that's my big problem.
So I asked Chef the same question, and I know it's a difficult one to answer, but I'd love for you to make a prediction on how you think you're going to do versus your opponents here during the training session.
I don't know really who I'm going to play. I know that I'm going to play against Morrow first, and I haven't played against him for like 3 months or 4 months, and he's been in Korea now, so I don't know what to expect. I know that he's an extremely good player, and I have very much respect for him as a player, so it's going to be very hard.
Does Morrow become a more intimidating opponent because he also moonlights as Terran occasionally versus Zerg?
Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it has a big effect on his CVT. I might be wrong though.
Okay. So also, is there any particular maps that you're kind of like wanting to focus on as well?
No, it's on all maps.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to see what you'll be able to do. Your counterpart earlier, Chef, did end up going 1-4, but it was that last game where it kind of all came together, and he did it. So, sir, I wish you luck, and be looking forward to those games. That being said, guys, let's throw it back to the desk with Day 9 and Rush.